sir, I had the most exciting experience I ever had in my life last week. I went to a wedding. It wasn't mine, it was some feller's else's. I wished it had been mine. That's one wedding I'd sure like to get an invite to. But I went to that wedding, and I wished y'all could have went with me. Oh, they had flowers, they had Christmas anthems and nasturtiums and petunias and begonias. I never seen the beat all around. And they had a lady playing the organ. She was playing Meddlesom's Wedding March. Oh, I just cried and cried. Had the best time. Oh, and the bride, she come down the aisle, and she had on a white dress and white mosquito netting up and down the front of her face. I didn't see why they didn't just spray her with DDT. Her dress was awful pretty in the front, but it sagged something awful down the back. Two little young'uns had to come behind and tote it for her. She just come on in there like there wasn't nothing wrong with the hem of her dress. Seemed like somebody to notice that before she got in there. It embarrassed me. And if she'd had to get away from there in a hurry with that long dress swinging out behind her, she'd have fell, broke a leg, they'd had to shoot her. But she'd come on in there, and the groom, he was waiting for her at the halter. Well, that's what it was. It took him a little time to find it out, but that's what it was. And you know, they said the bride looked stunning. Well, the groom just looked stunned. He looked like another clean shirt of done. One more, be all he needed. I felt sorry for him. You know, he is out of his mind, bound to have been. He never would have said what he did. He told that girl right there in front of all them folks that he'd give her all the worldly goods he had. He did. I heard him. He said he'd give her all his worldly goods. As Pappy was sitting by me, he said, "Uh-oh, there goes Jed's slingshot." And coming on home from that wedding was the closest that my feller ever come to proposing to me. I just tell you, it is just the most exciting thing. We was coming by the graveyard, and that there's where it like to happen, right there. We come by the graveyard, and was coming along with a horse and buggy, see? And we come by the graveyard, and my feller Hezzy, he pulled up that old horse, and we stopped there in front of that graveyard, and he looked over at the graveyard, and then he looked over at me, and he said, "Minnie Pearl," that there's my name's Minnie Pearl. That is why he called me that. He said, well, it was. I reckon it's the only reason I know. He said, "Minnie Pearl," he said, "all my kinfolks for years back, everybody ever been kin to me, and I reckon ever will be, has been buried over in that graveyard. I hope someday to see you buried over there too." Well, I didn't know what to say, him proposing to me like that. And then when he kissed me, and the way he kissed me, he started to tell the horse to get up. And just as he started to tell the horse to get up, he went like this. And I got in the way. He kissed me all right. I thought every hair on my head was a harp and somebody's playing a different tune on every one of them. I've been in several weddings myself. I've been a bridesmaid. Oh, I love to be in them. I just love a wedding. The last one I was in, though, I had a little trouble about my dress. I was aiming to wear a real pretty dress. Aunt Ambrosie and Mammy was cutting it out for me, and they had the fine pattern that we've used several times for my dresses. And this one was going to have a V-neck, and Aunt Ambrosie had on a new pair of spectacles, and they give her double vision. And when she cut it out, instead of it being a V-neck, it come out a W. Well, I couldn't use that dress. I just had to get another one, you know. Aunt Ambrosie is a fine lady. She's Uncle Nabob's wife, and Uncle Nabob's one of my favorite uncles of all. He's the finest old feller. I'd love to have brung him up here with me. I would have loved for y'all to have saw him. But every time I take him somewhere, he just mortifies me to death. A little while ago, I took him up to New York with me. I had to do a show up there, and he embarrassed me so. He never had rode an elevator. And we got in that little cage, and they jammed the door shut, and we just shot right straight up, about 15 or 16 wagon greasings. Got to the top, and fella run the elevator, turned around and seen Uncle Nabob look kind of pale. He said, "What's the matter, Pop? Did it scare you?" Uncle Nabob said, "No, I always wear my pants down around my ankles this way." A day or two after that, I had a little more trouble with him. I went in one of them great big department stores, and I lost Uncle Nabob. Couldn't find him nowhere. And I found him finally. He was trying to go up on a down escalator. I said, Uncle Nabob, what in the world are you trying to do? Trying to go up on a down escalator. He said, leave me alone, gal. Can't you see I'm a-gaining on it? Well, sir, I'll tell you, I was coming in here just now and something happened to me that it just scared me to death. There's a dark alley back here, back of where we are tonight, you know, and there was a feller back there, and he was a perfectly strange feller I had never saw before, and he grabbed a hold of me, and he says, I'm going to kiss you if you can't guess who I am. Well, I guessed Santa Claus and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Frosty the Snowman and Rhett Butler. He won't none of them. He wasn't sure enough, not a single one. So he kissed me. And then he brought me on up where there's light, where you come in back here at the steps where there's a light, you know. And I turned around and I said, what made you kiss me? And he took one good look at me and he said, lady, I must have been out of my mind. Well, I reckon I ain't as young as I used to be. I tell you now, I guess that all of us is go along, you know. Now, I will say one thing, that my figure ain't as good as it used to be. My figure's my fortune. I've just got my money invested in the wrong places, you see. I've got an hourglass figure, but it's later than you think. Oh, it's 1:15, no time at all, hardly, you might say. But I wanted to go back and say, though, that I have been paid some fine compliments at one time or another. Just a little while ago, one feller told me I look like a breath of spring. He didn't use them words. He said, I look like the end of a hard winter. But, you know, we've had a lot of excitement around Grind a Switch here recently. Aunt Ambrosia and Uncle Nabob got a boy named Cousin Elmer, and he's come home. He's been in the service. Oh, I just love the fellers in the service, only I'm at the awkward age to flirt with the fellers in the service. I'm young enough to flirt with them and too old to have them flirt back. But my cousin Elmer, he's come home. He's been over in the South Pacific, you know, where them girls dance them hula dances. He said he got engaged to one of them girls, but she wiggled out of it. I said, Elmer, how in the world do them girls dance them hula dances? And he said, that ain't hard to do. He said, all you do to dance the hula dances, you tie a bunch of hay around your waist and a bunch of oats around your neck, and then just rotate the crops. Oh, I'd never do that. My mammy'd whoop me for sure. But I wanted to bring my brother with me tonight, too, but every time I take him with me, something awful will happen. The first time I took him to town, everybody run from him. One fella pointed his finger at my brother, and he says, what's the matter with that boy? He's got spots all over his face. Has he got the smallpox? I said, Lord, no, brother ain't got the smallpox. We just been trying to learn him to eat with a fork. Brother's aim always has been bad. I remember one time he aimed at a squirrel up at the top of a tree and killed a sow and 5 pigs on the ground. Same bullet. But you know, I'll never forget, really, that first time I took Brother to town. We was going on the train, and Brother had never rode a train before, and we went down to the depot to get on, and we didn't know which end to get on. Both of them had stopped. We got on that old train, and we was just sitting there, me and Brother both, just big as life and twice as natural. And a fella come in the train, and he was hollering, apples, oranges, and nanners. And Brother had never had a nanner before, and he's careless with his money. He'll spend a nickel just like that all in the same place, think nothing of it. Ain't no flies on Brother, not since we got DDT. Well, so he got that nanner, and he didn't know how to eat it, and this fella right across the isle got one too, and he kept his eyes square dab on that fella. And that fella peeled down the nanner in his hand, Brother peeled down the nanner in his hand. Fella took a bite out of the nanner in his hand, Brother took a bite out of the nanner in his hand. Just Brother took a bite out of the nanner in his hand, we went through a tunnel. Everything just black, couldn't see a thing. Come through on the other side, Brother just sitting there holding that nanner, wasn't saying a word. I said, Brother, ain't you gonna eat the rest of your nanner? He said, no, I ain't gonna eat no more. Took one bite and I went stone blind. We've had more trouble with that tunnel Now, that's a tunnel on that railroad track that runs from Grinder Switch into Nashville. And that tunnel, it's not a long tunnel. It's just a short tunnel, and they don't turn the lights on. And it's dark in there. And one day, me and Sister was going into town, and we got in that tunnel. And while it was dark in there, a fellow across from me grabbed a hold of me and kissed me, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know whether to bake a cake or cut a watermelon. And we got through on the other side, and the fellow looked kind of embarrassed, and I looked kind of embarrassed because we was through there in the daytime, in the light, and he done kissed me and all. And I didn't know what to say, and he didn't know what to say, and finally he said, that tunnel back there cost over $1 million? I said, it is worth every cent of it. Oh, that is a fine day. Me and Sister was sitting there, and just as we got on closer into Nashville, well, they stopped, and then they started the train up again, and a man got on that train, and he had a handkerchief over the bottom part of his face, and he had a gun in each hand. He said, I'm going to rob all the men and kiss all the women. And Sister jumped up and said, oh, no, you can't do that. I said, sit down, Sister, who's robbing this train?
Not too long ago, I was in Philadelphia.